Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. Earfun has been one of my favorite manufacturers when it comes to affordable but quality earbuds with good sound. But there has been one feature which I kept criticizing in the past, and that's their smartphone app. Or rather the lack of it. But with the new Air Pro SV, Earfun seemed to have addressed that major shortcoming, as now we finally got a companion app. So let's see if the earbuds can deliver the results on the software front, and of course we will go into all sorts of other details and comparisons too. First, let's have a look at the design of the Air Pro SV. We got a triangular prism-shaped stem made partly from anodized aluminium. The earbuds look amazing with those sharp lines and beveled edges. The glossy dark blue finish suits the buds too, even though it is listed as black on the official website. Compared to the Earfun Air Pro 2, which can be considered as the predecessor of the Air Pro SV, the new buds got a tiny bit smaller and they weigh in at 4.3 grams each, which also makes them lighter than the older model, which comes in at around 5.5 grams. And to make the comparison complete, the Soundcore Live P3, which in my opinion is one of the main competitors here, weighs 5.2 grams each. So the SV wins the size game, and it also comes out on top in terms of comfort in my opinion. These buds are really comfy and I had no issues whatsoever even after wearing them for a couple of hours. No pressure, no hotspots. But even though there are 3 sets of silicone ear tips in the box, the fit was not quite snug enough. Or at least it wasn't tight enough at first. But there are 2 things I have to mention here. 1, this is my ears and my experience only, so your results might vary. 2, I believe that 2 out of those 3 sets of tips that came with my sample are the same size. It looks like I got 1 set of small and 2 sets of medium instead of 1 of each sizes. Do these look like 2 different sizes to you? I don't know. However, I found that the tips that came with the Air Pro 2 are kind of compatible with the SV due to the similarly sized oval-shaped speaker on the buds. So I put on the large ones and that made a world of a difference. The fit is now tight and the buds won't budge during a gym workout or running. The IPX5 rating makes them resistant to sweat, rain and splashes, and that comes in handy if you want to use the Air Pro SV for your workouts. And now let's move on to the design of the battery case. For some reason, the designers decided to cut a hole in the anodized aluminium lid so you can see the stem of the buds when the lid is closed. It looks great at first and I always appreciate a new and different design approach, but there is one caveat. I believe that the main function of the case is not only to charge the buds, but also to protect them. Now, with a sizable hole on the top, the stems are kind of exposed to the dangerous world of keys, coins, phones and who knows what else you might carry around in a bag along with your earbuds. Not really a problem for me personally, as I always use a separate pocket regardless of what bag I use, but still some people might have issues with it. The same goes for carrying the case around in your pants pocket, which due to its small size is quite easy by the way. And I'm not sure what's the story with dust building up inside the case over time. But other than this hole with absolutely no function whatsoever, there is a lot to like about this case. It looks cool, it feels solidly built, the lid opens and closes firmly, and we also get Qi wireless charging compatibility. Of course, if you want to make use of the USB Type-C port on the front, then you can do that too. The case offers quick charging, which means that in 10 minutes your earbuds can get enough juice for 2 hours of use. The total battery life is around 24 hours and the earbuds can last up to 6 hours on their own. That's with ANC turned off. If you use the active noise cancelling, then the single charge playtime drops down to 4.5 hours and the total battery life maxes out at around 17 to 18 hours. It of course can vary depending on how you use your earbuds, and this performance is subpar compared to what the Air Pro 2 and the Live P3 are capable of. That's where you have to pay for the small advantage in size and the better comfort. But if you ask me, I rather take the smaller buds and charge them more frequently than the other way around, but that's just me and your preferences might be completely different. Next up is connection. Nothing special here, we got Bluetooth version 5.2 with SBC and AAC. Pairing is quick and easy, connection is rock solid without any signal dropouts. There is no delay in the sound when watching movies or videos, and we get a game mode switch in the new app, which brings down latency to an acceptable level when it comes to gaming. Single bud mode is supported, but multi-point use is not. You can find 6 microphones on the 2 buds in total, and that setup can deliver a good level of clarity and intelligibility when it comes to voice transmission with the Earfun Air Pro SV. And if you find yourself making a phone call in a more noisy environment, such as a coffee shop for example, then you can expect a better than average performance from the environmental noise cancelling, as I found that the background chatter does not interfere with my voice that much. And just for the sake of a comparison, here's a quick audio sample from the mics on the Soundcore Live P3 in a quiet room. And now you can hear how these buds can handle environmental noise, such as some background chatter in a coffee shop during a phone call. And to compare the voice transmission quality of the Air Pro SV to that of its predecessor, the Air Pro 2, here is what the mics on the old buds sound like when making a phone call in a quiet room. And finally, here's an example of the environmental noise cancellation on the Air Pro 2, so you can hear what to expect from these buds in a coffee shop-like scenario.
And based on these quick tests, I believe that my own voice sounds the most natural on the Air Pro SV by far, even though the noise cancelling might be a touch stronger on the Air Pro 2 during phone calls. Next topic we have to discuss is the controls. The Earfun Air Pro SV comes with touch-sensitive interfaces built into the stems, and it also has a companion app with some custom settings. When I first held the buds in my hands, I had some fears regarding how the touch controls will work, but after using them for a while I had to realize that those fears were not justified at all. What I mean is that the stem has 2 sides, one facing forward and one backward, and naturally my finger always lands right on the edge between the 2 sides whenever I want to use the controls. But the interface easily registers the tapping action regardless, and you can also touch either the front or the back of the stem. The touch controls will work. I'm not saying that the reaction times, for example, could not be a bit quicker, but the controls work well overall. The single tap is reserved for volume up on the right bud and volume down on the left, while the double tap action is play pause on both buds. But the triple tap and long press actions can be customized in the brand new Earfun app. You can choose between previous track, next track, voice assistant, game mode and noise cancelling for each action and each bud independently. That gives me all the controls I will ever need, so no complaints there whatsoever. We get no smart sensors though, so automatic play and pause is not an option. And I don't understand why the omission of such a handy feature, especially when we consider the fact that the Air Pro 2 has it. It feels like a step in the wrong direction. And while talking about the Air Pro 2, the touch controls themselves work pretty much the same way on those buds, except for the remapping option of course, and while we get custom settings for the Live P3 in the Soundcore app, the triple tap action is missing from those buds. But let's quickly see what other features the Earfun app has to offer. On the main menu of the app, there are some ANC settings which I will get into in a minute, the game mode switch I mentioned before, there is a link to the same user manual you can find in the box already, and an equalizer with 4 presets, each of which can be manually fine-tuned to your liking. Tapping the gear icon on the top right corner takes us into another menu where you can find basically the same features again, plus the custom button settings and the firmware update option. And that's it. So the feature set might not be as comprehensive as some competitors, such as Soundcore, can offer, but it's an easy to use app with some basic functionality, and that's a good start for Earfun. One thing I noticed though was that the Android version was less reliable, and sometimes even though the buds were connected to my phone, the app would only work with the buds after restarting it a couple of times. The iOS version works without a hiccup. Onto the Quiet Smart 2.0 hybrid active noise cancellation, we have 3 modes. Noise cancelling, ambient sound and normal, which means ANC off. We can toggle through these modes using either the app or the touch controls. To put the noise cancelling performance of the Air Pro SV in some context, I thought I would compare it to the Earfun Air Pro 2 and the Soundcore Live P3 again, both of which I consider to be top contenders in the category. The differences are so minute that changing either the ear tips or moving the earbuds a bit could change the outcome of any of the tests I did. Traffic noise and crowd noise, these are all handled pretty well by all 3 buds. Sometimes I heard that the Air Pro SV might have a slight edge in terms of blocking out more low-frequency noises, and it might have a touch less of a hiss in all modes, but that's all. What the Air Pro SV could not handle well, however, is wind noise. There is no dedicated wind noise reduction or outdoor mode in the Earfun app, and that's one of the reasons I consider the Soundcore Live P3 a better option, especially if you live in a place where sea breeze or wind is almost constantly present. The Air Pro 2 also performs better when it comes to dealing with wind noise. In ambient mode, both Earfun buds deliver a kind of natural sound, which is also intense enough, but nothing is overly amplified. Transparency mode sounds more muted on the Live P3 with the tiniest bit of hiss. So the ANC feature of the Earfun Air Pro SV is more or less on par with the best of its class, with minor differences here and there. The only real advantage of the Soundcore Live P3 lies in the software, which can give us more flexibility than what the Earfun app can offer when it comes to dialing in our noise cancelling settings. And now let's talk about the sound quality of the Air Pro SV. We got the same sized 10mm dynamic drivers as in the Air Pro 2, but this time these drivers are made from wool instead of a titanium composite. And the sound is excellent, in fact it's one of the best in its class. The bass is punchy and tactile without too much of an overhang. I feel it's a bit more tight than it is on the Air Pro 2 and especially on the Soundcore Live P3. The mid-range is sweet and detailed with great vocals and acoustic instruments. Everything and everyone feels like a step closer to your face compared to the Air Pro 2. On one hand, it's a good thing as vocals get the highlight they deserve and the whole sound is somewhat more center-focused, but on the other hand, the sound stage is more compressed and compact than it is on the Air Pro 2. Some more air in the upper mid-range or lower treble region could help open things up a little and spread the music out not only to the sides but forward and backward too. The high frequencies in general are very detailed and energetic, yet they are smooth. They are rolled off ever so slightly to avoid sounding brisk or overcooked. We also tend to get less sibilance than on the Air Pro 2, but we also get way more details and sparkle than on the Soundcore Live P3. Separation is good, but again, the whole presentation sounds a bit too congested to me. But it's still more open than the absolutely bass-heavy and boomboxy sound of the Live P3. So at the end of the day, the taut bass, the warm mids and the detailed highs mean that the Earfun Air Pro SV has one of the most enjoyable sound signatures in the under $100 range. And there is the built-in EQ feature too, which honestly is only capable of making subtle changes in the sound, but at least now we have the chance to make those changes without any third-party app. And that's only one of the many reasons why I'm so glad to see that Earfun has finally come to its senses and released a smartphone app. And let's not forget the fact that at the same time they gave us a nicely designed, well-built, good-looking set of earbuds too. The Air Pro SV offers all features the Air Pro 2 does, except for those inner sensors, which still doesn't make much sense, but it's not the end of the world. The battery life got much shorter too, which is the price you have to pay for the smaller size. So if you need either autoplay pause or a longer battery life, you are better off with the older Air Pro 2. But in every other case, I believe that the Air Pro SV is the better choice, simply because of the app and the potential it has for future updates. As of making this video, the SV costs $90, while you can get the Air Pro 2 for $10 less officially, and that might be something to consider as well. As for the Soundcore Live P3, it offers the exact same features with a longer battery life and a bit more sophisticated smartphone app, all of that for $80, which makes it slightly cheaper than the Air Pro SV again. There is the wind noise advantage too, which might be important to some, while less important to others. But to me personally, this is the only reason why the Air Pro SV is not the absolute winner here. But other than that, the sound quality, the phone call quality, the build quality, the sleek modern design, and the more compact overall package together put the Air Pro SV in front of the other two for me. And that's the end of this video. Please either subscribe, hit the like button, or leave a comment, or maybe do all of these things if you feel like you want to. Thanks for watching. See you next time.